Ladies, do me a favor. When you look at something called hormonal reserves, do you understand your hormone in your thyroid is stored? There are certain hormones that are stored and then released. And there's certain that use up through the day that if you don't have enough, you'll run out. So I want you to think about this. The best time to build up your hormonal reserves is get to bed about 9 o'clock. Because from 9 to 1 or 2 o'clock roughly, you build up the greatest hormonal reserves. And they found out that if you go to bed later, so let's say you go to bed at midnight and you still sleep 8 to 10 hours, you can still wake up very deficient and very fatigued. So how did I determine, once again, but you, doc, you're just telling me go to sleep. Now, how did you come up with 8 to 10 hours? Well, here we go. Some basic biochemistry. Speaking of cortisol, we have something called the circadian rhythm. Cortisol and other hormones start to increase. They start about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why if all of a sudden your hormones jump up too quickly at 3 a.m., you'll be like, that's why it was called the witching hour, all right? And if you look at this, is because all of a sudden people wake up and say, I don't know why I'm wide awake. Why am I waking up? Because your hormones start to creep its way up. They peak between the times of 6 and 8 o'clock. So let's roughly take it around 6 a.m. just on the early realm. Well, on the early realm, let's say 7's the midpoint. If you're supposed to have the best hormonal reserves by going to bed at 9, and it starts to peak between 6 and 8, and let's take 6 o'clock. How many hours are between 9 and 6 a.m.? 9 p.m., 6 a.m. 9 hours. 7 is supposed to be the highest, 10 hours. So I even gave a little flexibility and said women need to sleep 8 to 10 hours. Saying, hey, if you get to bed at 10 and wake up at 6, don't have many hormonal reserves, but you probably got the majority of it. But the ideal is going from 9 or 10 to tell you the truth. But I gave you a little flexibility because a lot of people go to bed at 10. I'm like, at least stay in bed till 6 when the hormonal circadian rhythm is supposed to wake you up. And I started explaining to people like, that makes sense. That's a good opinion. And I shared that opinion because of the 100 million views that we've gotten on the platforms. And women started emailing me and started Facebooking me and started Instagram messaging me and said, holy crap, doc. I just forced myself to start going to bed at 9 o'clock. And it was dramatic. They even said this. I even found myself getting up a little earlier, but I felt more clear. I had more energy. I said, yes, because all you're doing is using sleep to build up hormone levels that you're supposed to during the night. And sent it off to that Stanford doctor. He's like, makes a lot of sense.